This is going to be a organized and concise review of the XP Deus II after 6 months of use. We're going to answer that question that everybody wants to know. Is $1,600 worth it to spend on this metal detector? And remember, if you want my full review, let's say that you're watching this in the distant future, you want to know what I currently think of the detector, you go to my website, iratemetaldetectors.com, and you go to XP Deus II. As of right now, this has the highest capability rank. The blue sections is capability, but there's big time quirks to iron out also. I took off points for relative value because it is such an expensive detector, but we'll elaborate a little bit more on that in this video. First point, ergonomics. Ergonomically, it is superior to anything else that is on the market right now. This is one where you really don't want to depend on Google for the answers, so I googled Nocta Legend weight. It's a valid competitor of the Deus and the Equinox. Nocta Legend, it says, is 3 pounds, and we did the same thing for the Minelab Equinox, supposedly a little bit less than 3 pounds. You Google the weight of the Deus II. This is nonsense, although this could be, something else. Yeah, this was from an Amazon store, and I think they're talking about shipping weight, the entire box, 5.5 pounds. It says it's heavier, but that's the first result that comes up. People usually go with that. But we're not going to be people, we're going to dig a little further. Thank you to the detective store, that's what we're using for this. And down here, okay, they weighed the different parts. 370 grams for the frame, the panel, 150 grams. Remember, you could take off the panel. And the weight of the coil, 345 grams. Now, through the miracle of science, we have calculators on our phone. That equals to 865 grams. Now you need a Google miracle to convert that to pounds. Well, there you go. 865 grams equals 1.907 pounds. And if you compare that, it's 3 for the Nocta Legend, and it's 2.96 for the Equinox. Oh, you're an Olympic powerlifter? Oh, that's so cute. Guess what? My shoulder muscles are more impressive than yours. Specifically one shoulder muscle. I've swung a coil like back and forth like crazy. Listen, ergonomics will increase the amount of time that you will be on the beach, in the field. It extends your day, so it is important. That 1 little pound, you feel the difference. But then again, I've swung those super, super heavy Minelab E-Tracks that, really, really work the shoulder muscle. And honestly, if it works, if the detector works better, I'll go back to a detector that's heavier than this. I'm just saying, ergonomics is nice. Point 2. People who swung Deus I have a massive advantage with Deus II. It's important for you to know that I bought my Deus I in the year 2020, and that originally came out in the early 2010s, so I was very late in the curve. Again, those of you familiar with the interface of the Deus I have a huge advantage, because the Deus II is truly complex. All right, so this is connected to nothing right now, but just in terms of interface, the interface almost broke my brain. All right, let's start out with menu here. So, sensitivity. Everybody and their mother knows sensitivity. I'm not going to go into that one. Salt sensitivity. Oh, dang. Look at this. So, salt sensitivity, here's the manual basically telling you don't use general sensitivity on the beach. When searching wet sand or surf, always use the salt sensitivity setting as a priority rather than the general sensitivity. If you want to make a crater, pump up that sensitivity as far as it can go, as long as it's stable, that is. Frequency shift. A lot of modern detectors have channels, and basically you're looking for the quietest channel, the one with the least EMI, the least ground interference, and essentially you could press the scan button and it scans for you. It's nice. Iron volume. For anybody new to detecting, iron is the most deceptive metal out there. It could sound like silver. It could sound like something great, but then it turns out to be iron. Plus, we have the bottle caps too. Now, iron volume, that it lets you infer a little bit more that it could be a piece of iron. Reactivity. The manual itself says it is identical to recovery speed. And the rule of thumb with recovery speed is the higher the recovery speed you have, the more that you're going to be able to separate in high traffic regions, meaning that there's a lot of targets in the ground. And if you turn it all the way down, you get more depth and you get less separation. So lower numbers, more depth, less separation. Audio response. So there's people that detect without the control unit, without numbers. They can just do it by sound. And audio response, basically this amplifies deep signals, makes it sound like it's somewhat surface. Some people love this, some people hate this. The people who detect without the control box, they usually don't touch this. Discrimination. Oh yeah, discrimination has an expert setting. So you click on expert, and basically this is where you can adjust your tones, and you could say, all right, we want more than 3 tones and such. Going down, bottle caps. How much do you want to discriminate bottle caps? Goes up to 5. And you have a sophisticated notch. Personally speaking, I am a all-metal type of guy. I want to hear everything, even in the busy dirt of New York City. This has little value to me, so I've barely experimented with it, to be completely honest. All right, so here's the thing. I've mastered menu. Option. Dear God, do you need most of this? Okay, so audio, look at this. Audio type. Okay, let's go down. Audio out. Okay, how loud that's going to be. Quick point, Deus is actually phenomenal for making videos because it lets you wear headphones and it still will give sounds too at the same time. That's great for making videos. Equalizer. We're not listening to freaking disco music here. Oh, you don't need this. Ain't nobody need that. Audio type, what the... I'm yet to really venture into this section. Let me be totally, completely honest. Settings, okay, this, diving, you need this. I've got the regular headphones. I don't have the bone conduction or anything like that, but they think of everything. Diving, display, this is helpful. This is where you choose the XY screen and stuff, contrast, brightness. No, it's not where you... Never mind. It's contrast, how you want it to be. Backlight, off. This is where you turn it on. You'll get less battery life. Never mind. Display. Language. Yeah, let's give a button where we could switch it to French. That's just what I need. Clock. Here we go. Profile. This is where you... this is where you choose the screens. So you could go plus and minus, profile... XY. I'm going to put the link to the video up here, but the XY screen is marketed as something that can really show you the difference between, say, a bottle cap and a treasure, whether it be an old coin or a gold ring. And based on how things go on the XY screen, it tells you that. You get a visual cue. It's not all that, because it really only works when something is surface. Video's up here. Check it out. And horseshoe. Oh, man. This hurts my brain. 6 months. Finally starting to get the hang of all of this after 6 months. Now, this is also after I owned the Deus I. So remember that. And there's a $1,600 price tag that's involved with this detector, and we will get into whether it's worth it or not. One of the things that I learned early was programs, and I have to say the set of programs on the Deus II are arguably better than the programs they have on the Deus I. You could even do the Deus I programs on the Deus II, although that's a little bit harder with the single frequency versus the multi-frequency. So I made my own program with the starting base of beach sensitive with the help of a friend. Basically, this is more beach sensitive, and it also has a slightly higher number for bottle caps. One of the things that I'm in the works of doing for all detectors, not just the XP Deus, you see it says best settings here. There's no hyperlink to it yet. It says soon. But basically, I plan to share all of my settings, all of the best settings. After you get brave enough to store your own program on the Deus, and you will want to, this is how you do it. So what you got to do is you have to go to Options, and then Program. When it's there, you select it, and you can save. After you do all of the changing of the variables to fit your needs, and you name it and such, and it's there. The important thing to know about the Deus II and the programs is you really don't need to tinker that much. It's highly effective as is. I love beach sensitive on the beach. I love the deep program when I'm in the dirt. The biggest growth area that I see with the Deus is actually target ID. And honestly, it's something that I really do not value very highly, but take a look at this. You know, this might sound like a rhetorical question, but it's not. On a metal detector, which one is going to ring up higher? Or in other words, be more conductive? If you answered Morgan dollar, yeah, that's correct. But problem is, look at this. Well, we'll get to the problem. You know, I threw these down on the ground. They're just surface. Let's make sure they're totally flat, okay? Equinox. $36, $37, we'd call that $36. Okay, now we go to the Walking Liberty. $34. Both are highly conductive targets, but the larger one rings up higher than the smaller one. That's just logic. XP Deus II, also known as the Deuce Deuce. Okay, we are in general mode. It's the mode that generals use, you know, and Morgan dollar and a half. Watch this. Solid 94 for the Morgan dollar. But wait. Solid 97 for the half. What? So that's an excerpt from this video, which I will link to up here, and I highly recommend that you look at it. There's more elaboration in that. But long story short, there are flaws to target ID on the Deus II. I dig everything, so it means less to me, but to some, that is a important factor in purchasing a metal detector, and especially when $1,600 is at stake, it's kind of a glaring flaw. Let's be honest. Now let's talk about the day-to-day maintenance of the Deus. You get an interesting charger. And yeah, let's also talk about the water setup, because that's quite the ordeal. Anyway, you get a charger, all parts of the same charger. So you get, you know, a wire that splits into three. One goes into the headphones, one goes into the back of the box, and the third one, oh, the troublesome one, is the coil. And connecting this is quite the ordeal. It really takes shimmying. You could say the same thing for the Equinox, but long story short, you are not done. Sorry to get my hand in the way. You are not done until this light is solid. There have been about 5 times that everything else has charged, but the coil has not. It is really annoying. And it should be all charged right now, but there we go. You really have to shimmy it to get like that. when you see a solid light, yeah, when you see a solid light, that's when you know it's fully charged. I was able to get that last night. Hopefully, it's got a full charge right now, and you can tell on the screen here. But it's an ordeal. Second, here's the thing. It's a wireless detector, but when you put the coil below the water, it loses signal to the box. And the solution of the Deus, the people at Deus, is, all right, let's make it wired, which turns it back into a wired metal detector for beach detectorists. And you get this at the top. This has to connect to the top of the box, and you get like a little snap mechanism to keep it there. And it's flimsy, it works, but instead of sending the radio signal, well, I guess it still gets the radio signal, but it's just, it has to be one above water and one below. So it's a quirky detector. That's something you need to know if you're going to invest. All right, now we're coming to the most important section, which is performance. Does the performance of the XP Deus II quantify the $1,600 price?
This, believe it or not, well, it would be my second favorite signal of the day. The one that was up in the 90s. But look at this. This is pure. Can you hear that? That's pure. Coming in at 80 and barely registering in depth, meaning it's deep. Oh, snap. That's 12 inches at least. At least. That's a deep metal detecting signal right there. I see you. This is probably part of a buckle, maybe? Old. Okay, that was... Okay, look at this. That is legitimately 14, 15 inches. This thing, 8 inches here, 9 inches up to the top. That was at the bottom of this. Yeah. This thing goes deep, man. Holy cow.
Arguably goes even deeper at the beach.
Look at that.
That last excerpt was from a video where I tested pretty much every detector that I own on this scenario. Some failed and some did very well. The Deus was arguably amongst the top performers, if not the top performer. So here are my thoughts. It's ergonomically superior to everything else on the market. The depth is comparable. It does not blow away the competition. Strongest performer in that test, perhaps. You'll see if you go to that video. I'm like lifting the coil up, 15 inches. You're still getting that signal. But here's the thing. If you compare it with the Minelab Equinox 15-inch coil, you can match with that one. I have the 11-inch coil on my Deus, and coil size, that gives you depth. I think that a Deus with a bigger coil would blow everything away. It's not there yet, and I don't know if Deus can even do that because of the tuning of the detector. But at 11 inches, it's pretty impressive. When the Minelab Equinox came out, it was head and shoulders ahead of the competition, and that was because of the true simultaneous multi-frequency. And Deus, they got on the bandwagon with that. Other companies did as well. Garrett did, Nocta Macro did as well. This is the essential question. Do I recommend that you go and purchase a Deus right now? Minelab is coming out with a new detector, possibly at the end of this year. and possibly early next year. And it should be the update of the Equinox, the evolution of that. And to me, that's the company that everybody is chasing, in my honest point of view. Is the XP Deus II more capable than the Equinox? Yes, it is. But we have a new variable at play with that new detector that's coming out. And is it $600 better than the Equinox? I don't think so. I really don't think so. It's very close. Are there people that could benefit from this detector more so than people who swing the Equinox or the Legend? And we'll get to the Legend in a second. I think if you need ergonomics, like if you're somebody who has a heart condition and, really there's a limited amount of time that you can swing in a given day, like you'll want to consider getting this detector. Ergonomically, it's superior to everything else on the market. And it's, with the exception of the Deus I, Deus I is even a little lighter than this. But for all of the simultaneous multi-frequency detectors, this is king in terms of ergonomics. What I also see as a real accomplishment is the Legend. I see this, the Legend, as 5% worse than the Deus and maybe 3 or 4% worse than the Equinox. It's very close, but we're talking about a $630, $650 price point. It's $1,000 difference right there. That's why I have it listed as number one on iRate Metal Detectors. Raw detecting capability, Deus II is number one as of right now, this moment. In closing, I don't work for anybody. It would be a detriment if I did, because I want to swing the best. And you will see me swinging what I consider to be the best metal detector on the market. That's how you know what I think. If you want to see me elaborate on that, go to my website, iratemetaldetectors.com. You'll see complete write-ups of everything that I've ever swung. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. I'll try to answer as many comments as I can down in the comment section. This should be an ongoing discussion. And, again, if my thoughts change, you will see them reflected at iratemetaldetectors.com. Thanks, everybody.